In 2020, the Federal Reserve established the Main Street Lending Program as a way to support mid-sized businesses during the pandemic. Now, some of those businesses are having trouble catching up with those loan repayments. Bloomberg reports that the loans ranging from $100,000 to $300 million were offered to, quote, help businesses that were generally too big to apply for forgivable loans through the Paycheck Protection Program and too small to tap U.S. capital markets. The central bank recently reported that while most of the $17.5 billion in loans have been paid off, as of October, more than $1 billion in interest and principal payments are in default, meaning significantly overdue. For more, let's bring in Catarina Saraiva. She's an economics and Federal Reserve reporter for Bloomberg News. Catarina, how did this happen? What are businesses telling you about why they're defaulting?
Yeah, I think overall it's just a really tough environment. There's a few different factors at play. I mean, one is that the economy today is very different from what we imagined it would be back in the early days of the pandemic. And then importantly, also the way this program was set up is now kind of burdening a lot of businesses. These loans were set up as floating rate. And of course, we've had a big run up in interest rates. So that interest rate burden has really increased and is really weighing on businesses. And then you also have the way that the payments are structured on the principal amount of the loan. They're structured as bullet payments, just three of them. And the last one, which for most of these businesses is going to come due next year, is 70% of the principal. It's a large number.
Well, the pandemic changed a lot about how people live and where people work and shop. How does that factor into the issues these borrowers are having?
Yeah, I think it's been a significant issue for a lot of the businesses. I mean, one of the companies we talked to was World of Beer. This is a chain of craft breweries, bar restaurant type of a place across the U.S. And with their Main Street loan, they opened a few different locations, but one of the locations was in kind of the bottom of an office building near Washington, D.C., with the assumption that, after work, once people return to the office, coworkers would want to grab a beer. And of course, we haven't seen return to office nearly as robustly as everyone thought it would be, in the spring of 2020. So there's, at the time when these loans were being made, we were making a lot of assumptions about the economy post-COVID that, of course, are different now.
Yeah, some things we thought would stay all the time, like masking and not having buffets and crews, and look at where we are today. So much has happened that we didn't necessarily expect. Is $1 billion sort of a drop in the bucket? Is the bigger impact on these businesses, or is it sort of on the Fed and the central bank?
Yeah, I think the bigger impact is on the individual businesses. I mean, these are mid-sized businesses, so they're not tiny, but they're also not huge. And they often don't have a lot of recourse, right? They can't go to capital markets like a really big corporation could. And in a lot of cases, they're having trouble restructuring this debt. It's the terms on these loans make it very difficult for that to happen. And for the Fed, I mean, the reality is that the interest payments that they've received so far from the loan payments that have come in are offsetting this. And there's also money that was appropriated through the CARES Act that acts as a backstop. So they likely won't really have actual, losses when all is said and done on this. But I think it's important as kind of a case study as we look ahead to future crises and what kind of policies we might want to put in place the next time we have a downturn.
I got to be quick with you on this, but what do you mean by that?
Well, will we want to deploy something like this again? And, the answer, the lesson we may have learned this time around is maybe not.
Catarina Saraiva, thank you so much for your reporting and for coming on and sharing it with us.
Thank you.